Hare Krishna. Welcome to everyone. Thank you very much for our Kirtaniyas. They've been doing this Kirtan program for the past 2 hours. Welcoming year 2021. We all hope 2021 will be much better than 2020 has been. Hopefully, things will slowly return to somewhat to normalcy. Actually, last year we had gathered in the temple to do this Kirtan, but this year we are trying to do our best by joining online. I would like to welcome also our guest speaker today, His Grace Satchitananda Das. This Prabhu is a disciple of Nityalila Prayishtam Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj and has been serving in Iskcon for over 30 years. He has done many different services. You can actually say that what he didn't do, that's easier. So he has been involved in many things, including Pujari Seva, cooking, teaching bhajans, and getting into the details of our scriptures. And appropriately, he's going to talk today about the significance of the Pranam mantra of His Divinity Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, our Param Guru. Prabhuji has participated in lectures and seminars in various different locations around the world. Currently, he is the council member of Iskcon Niagara Falls. His life is dedicated in the service of Srila Prabhupada and is very eager to share Srila Prabhupada's teachings and Srila Prabhupada's glories. So we heartily welcome our special guest speaker, His Grace Satchitananda Das. Please welcome him saying Hari Bol in your own way at home. We may not hear you simultaneously. So let's welcome Prabhuji. And should there be any comments or clarification, please don't hesitate. The lecture, normally he has given lectures for longer period. So today we decided due to time limitation between 5 and 6:30, and there will be Gaur Arti at 6:30. Okay, so hopefully there'll be opportunity for us to clarify should there be any need for that. So I now turn it over to His Grace Satchitananda Das Prabhu. Welcome again, Prabhuji.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you're not audible.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we can hear you better now.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to all the Vaishnavas, and all glories to the Iskcon Ottawa congregation. Thank you so much for having me here on the very first day of this 2021. What a wonderful way to start the year with Kirtan and the association of devotees. My humble obeisances to each one of you. And thank you, Guru Prasad Prabhu and Adishyam Prabhu, for engaging me in the service of Srila Prabhupada's glorious movement, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So I would like to first start with a little kirtan. And then I would like to sing, because we're dedicating today's program to His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. I would like to first start by singing one of his favorite bhajans, which is Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. And then, depending on how much time we have, we will go as much as we can based on my capability to share with you all some of the wonderful pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and his Pranam mantra. What can I say for such a glorious personality? It is impossible to, even if I speak, lifetimes about glories of such personalities, it is not possible to do justice. But based on our capabilities, we will try our best to please His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, His Gurudev Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, and all the Acharyas of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. And of course, Sri Gaur Nitai and Sri Radha Krishna, Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Madan Mohanji, Radha Gokulanandji, Radha Ramanji, Radha Gopinathji, and all the wonderful transcendental pastimes that are there that enlighten us. We bow down to the Krishna Leelas, which includes a Kripa Leela, which is the pastimes of our spiritual masters. So I will start with the Kirtan, and then we will share a slide for the Bhajan Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati iti namine Shri Varshabhanvi Devi Daitaya Tripadaye Krishna Sambandha Vidyana Damine Prabhave Madhurojjvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namaste Namaste Gaurvani Shri Murtaye Dinakarine Rupanuga Viruddha Siddhanta Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. आजानुलंबित भुजौ कौनकाय अवधातो संकीर्तन पितरो कामराय काशो विश्वंभरो द्विजवरो युगधर्मपालो वन्दे जगत प्रियकरो करुणावतारो पतितपावनताय गौर सुंदर की जय। श्री रूप मंजरी पद शैव संपद श्री रूप मंजरी पद शैव संपद शैव भजन Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Shiva Pada Jaya Satchitananda Gauri. Jaya Satchitananda Cheto Darpanam Janam Chandrika Anandam Buddhivarganam Pratipada Purnamrita Sarvatma Swaranam Param Vijayate Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Prabhupada Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Gaur Premanande Hari Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, my humble obeisances again to all of you. I would kindly request the host to mute everyone just in case if somebody accidentally unmutes or if there is any kind of background noise, it can be thus eliminated. Thank you so much. So I wish each one of you a wonderful 2021 in all respects, especially spiritual advancement. And what better occasion can it be than tomorrow being the disappearance day of our very dear Acharya Srila Prabhupada's Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to his divine grace, all glories to his divine graces. Vande Guru Ho Sri Charnarvindam. As Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad in the Mangal Arati that we sing every day, very nicely has worded in the whole Astakam at the end of every verse. Vande Guru Ho Sri Charnarvindam. The Guru Ho means all the acharyas, all the gurus. It's plural. Just like when we recite even these prayers, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Even in these prayers, the first line starts with Vandehaham. I offer my respectful obeisances. Vandeham Shri Guru. It is plural. So this is the beauty of our parampara, especially Vaishnavas are full of gratitude. We not only uh, express our gratitude to our uh, Shiksha Gurus, our Diksha Gurus, but we express our gratitude to all the Vaishnavas, especially those exalted Vaishnavas in our very exalted Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. So within the short time, it is going to be extremely difficult for me to kind of do justice, but I will try my best because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, personalities like him, they are so exalted that even speaking about their glories for lifetimes would not be sufficient. Because if we try to understand who they are, then perhaps we will get a deeper insight and more appreciation of our acharyas. So first, I would like to very briefly, because I know there are some other speakers that I was told on Monday, I think it is Bhakti Rasamrita Swami who's also going to be speaking on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's disappearance and his glories. I'm going to also very briefly speak about some important lifetime events so that I can also later on enter into Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's Pranam mantra, which is very important. We all every day recite the Pranam mantra of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and almost millions of times it is repeated every day between hundreds and thousands of devotees every time they offer their obeisances to Srila Prabhupada or to the deities. So a Pranam mantra is basically, in a nutshell, which I know most of the Vaishnavas are aware, it actually glorifies that particular Vaishnava or an entity in a very glorious way in a very few words. Just like sometimes a certain verse in the scripture, uh, it has so much compacted information and transcendental information. Similarly, the pranam mantras of our acharyas are imbibed with such great glories. So which I will, based on my capacity, try to touch upon. A couple years ago, actually last year and the year before, last 3 years in the month of Kartik, the administration at Iskcon Krishna Balram Mandir had given me this seva to do some seminars. And I did a seminar on His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, that went for a full 2 complete days. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga and all the Vaishnavas, it was well received. Seldom people speak about such most commonly uttered prayers or commonly uttered eulogies or kirtis. Because once we actually dive deep into it, then we realize that, oh Krishna, these personalities are really amazing. So I will try to enter into the Pranam Mantra. Before it is 5 minutes to end, please somebody remind me because there's a possibility that I might get carried away. And if a few minutes extra allowed, that would be, I think, helpful if everybody is actually diving deep into this nectar. Then, and of course, we do not want to keep the deities waiting. If the time for the Aarti is at 6:30, then I think somebody should kindly remind me. So I will basically start by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's some basic pastimes and some dates that we should try to especially remember on these special occasions. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada appeared in 1874, and he actually appeared on a Friday, which is also, amazing. It is also today. It is a Friday. He appeared on Friday in 1874, and at 3:30 p.m. in Puri, in Jagannath Puri. Now, it is amazing. I'm going to make a little bit of mixture in this lecture. I'm going to also make it with a touch of rasa or mellows, because otherwise it will be extremely difficult to highlight who this great personality is. So later on, when we all put the dots together, perhaps we will get a small glimpse of these great personalities, including Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He appeared in Jagannath Puri, which is known as the Viyogini Dham or Viyogini Radha Kshetra. This is an amazing concept that I have heard and read through the books of the Goswamis, that it is for Jagannath Puri Dham is known as the Viyogini Radha Kshetra. And the reason being is Viyogini means intense separation, and Kshetra means the place. So how is it that Jagannath Puri is the Viyogini Kshetra or Viyogini Radha? Viyogini Radha means Radha Rani in deep separation of Sri Krishna. This is the amazing thing about our, amongst all the Vaishnava Paramparas. There are many bona fide Vaishnava Paramparas, but our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara is very unique. Even if we go to Sri Vrindavan Dham, we will find that there are so many exalted different Vaishnava panthas or paths that are extremely bona fide in nature. But what distinctly brings us apart is that our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara has got service to the divine couple in separation and in union. And most of the other paramparas that you find in Vrindavan Dham, I really don't have the time to go into that, but just to give you explanations, there are so many nice temples and they're wearing the Vaishnava Tilak, and including some of them are similar to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Tilak, but their bhav is slightly different. Most of them desire only to serve Radha Krishna in union. So what makes our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya distinctly separate, especially in the line of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami and Rupa Goswami, is because of the service and separation. And Viyogini Radha is that Radha Rani who is full of separation of Krishna when Krishna takes the bhav of Radharani as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent last 12 years of internal bhajan in the Gambhira. Most Vaishnavas are aware that not too far from the main temple, there is a place known as the Gambhira, where in a very small room, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with his two most intimate associates, Rai Ramananda and Swarup Damodarji, he spent 12 years in Viyog, in separation. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna in the bhav of Radharani, so the bhav is Radha's, the mellow is Radharani's, and in separation of Krishna, Mahaprabhu used to cry day and night. And Lalita is none other than Swarup Damodar Thakur, and Vishakha is none other than Rai Ramananji, who accompanied Sri Krishna and Radharani, the mood of Radharani, in service, serving them in the separation mood. And therefore, Jagannath Puri is very special to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Few months ago, during the Rath Yatra, we gave 5 weeks of Katha on Jagannath Rath Yatra, and we have mentioned the importance of why Jagannath Puri is so important to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because Puri and the Rath Yatra are very, very ancient, since time immemorial. The mention is there in Skanda Puran, in Padma Puran, and these are all very ancient Purans. But the dimension, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Puri, then the entire dimension or the outlook of that the new facet of a diamond was rediscovered and given freely by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the separation. And that is why even Lord Jagannath, who is in separation of Vrindavan Dham, his eyes are wide open, his mouth is wide open, he's like a statue. And we know that katha, how that happens so. So Jagannath Puri Dham is known as the place of separation. Otherwise, it is generally for most devotees from all different sampradayas, it is Vaikuntha. But for us, it has a different dimension. Anyways, so he appeared, so we can see that somebody very dear to Radharani appeared in that place. Somebody dear to, very, very dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared there. And this is not the place that he appeared, is called Narayan Chat. Not too far from the on the same Bododanda or the Grand Road of the temple. That's where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada appeared in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a magistrate, an amazingly wonderful personality, not only from the perspective of the British saw him as a wonderful asset to the British government, because he was perhaps the only Indian judge amongst all the white British judges. And he used to have a lot of important cases that he heard. And I've heard that he heard about 50 cases a day, sometimes with so much perfection that some of these English judges were so envious of him because they hardly could handle 10 or 8 cases a day. Just like nowadays, we find that sometimes, this is true. This is our practical experience. Sometimes some of our Indian body friends, when they come from India, especially to the US and the foreign countries, and they work on some work visa, and they work very hard, and they are working in a very mixed environment, and they find that there are certain people from the Western countries also working in the same office. And sometimes in their coffee breaks or lunch breaks, there's discussions. Why aren't you leaving the office at 5? And most of these people leave, but they sometimes stay behind, work until 7, work until 8. They're very hard workers. So they want to prove themselves in one way. This is a material example. But the point being that Bhaktivinoda Thakurji, was so perfect that he would finish all his work by 2 p.m. and then after that go home and perform his bhajan and write many books. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur also wrote more than 80 small and large books, and especially a lot of wonderful bhajans, etc. So he had 10 children, and this was the 4th son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srimati Bhagwati Devi. That was the name of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's mother, divine mother. And actually, when he appeared, it is an amazing thing. What we call is, Prabhupada uses this word physiognomy. Physiognomy is that art of looking at the physical features of somebody and telling about that person. So the physiognomy of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was amazing. That really showed right from birth that he was not an ordinary personality. When he appeared from his mother's womb, at that time, the umbilical cord was wrapped around him like the Brahmin's sacred thread, the janoi. And he was also, when he appeared, he was named by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as Bimla Prasad. Now, as you all probably know, that the transcendental potency or Yogamaya, also her Swarup is Mahamaya in the material world. She is one of the external energies of Sri Krishna or Lord Jagannath in the form of Bimla Devi. And also Lord Jagannath, or actually Narayan, had promised that, because one time when that prasadam Leela happened, when Naradji came to Shivji, and when he offered, when he was dancing in ecstasy, Shivji said, "I've never seen you dance in so much ecstasy. Tell me what happened." And he says, "I just received the Mahaprasad of Vishnu, of Narayan or Krishna. And Shivji said, wow, amazing. Why don't you give me some too? And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't have any. And Shivji said, examine your toenail, I mean your nails, your hand nails, and then the fingernails. And there he found a little grain of prasadam from Naradji's little one of the fingernails, and he took that, he popped it in his mouth, and he started dancing in ecstasy, like as if it was going to be devastation. It was so much ecstasy. Mother Parvati and all the demigods were scared. What is happening? Untimely, the dance of devastation is happening. Lord Shiva is in some kind of a trance. And then Mother Parvati is the only one who came forward and kind of, stopped him for a second and says, what happened, my dear husband? He says, oh, you don't know, Parvati, you don't know. I'm so fortunate. I got the Mahaprasad of Vishnu. And he said, yeah, very nice. Where is my share? So now Lord Shiva looks down and he's like kind of sad that he did not share with Mother Parvati. And Mother Parvati, to make a long Leela short, was so upset and so angry, as if she was fuming and the whole world would be burned down by her anger. The demigods started getting scared in the heavenly planets, and they all approached Vishnu or Lord Narayana and said that this is the issue. So personally, Lord Narayana or Vishnu came to Mother Parvati and assured her that in my form as Lord Jagannath, when I appear in this material world, and you will also be in that same temple, you will be the first one to receive my Mahaprasad before anybody else receives it. Not even your husband, Lord Shiva, or any other demigods. If you go to the Jagannath Puri temple, there are wonderful agrahara of different small temples that are all devotees of Lord Jagannath, different demigods, Lord Ganesh, Lord Shiva, etc., and Bimla Devi. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had actually prayed because of his wonderful devotion, him being a very top-notch Vaishnava, he prayed to Bimla Devi to send her a son, someone who could assist him in preaching Krishna consciousness. And because his wish was fulfilled in Puri, and he knew it was the mercy of Bimla Devi, she heard her prayers, heard his prayers, and therefore he was known as Bimla Prasad. So by birth, his name was Bimal Prasad or Bimla Prasad. That's what he was known as. So again, a wonderful incident. When Bimla Prasad was only about a few months old, in his infancy, at that time, the Rath Yatra had just started. And as you all know, those who have attended the Puri Rath Yatra, from Puri temple to the Gundicha Mandir, it sometimes takes over 24 hours next day for the Rath to reach there, because Lord Jagannath or Krishna or Balram, who is also not different from Krishna, and Subhadra Devi, who is the Yogamaya, they are fully independent. They are Swarat. Srimad Bhagavatam says in the very first line that Om Janmadi Yasya Yato Anvayat Itartascha Artheshwa Abhigya Swarat. They are fully independent. Nobody can control them. So they go at their own pace, and they are giving darshan to millions and millions of people. They sometimes stop and everybody's trying to pull the rath and nobody can move them. Even when they are pushing and with all the musical instruments, they are coercing, but Lord Jagannath is fully independent. So because of this wonderful exhibition of his swarat or his independent mood, he had actually stopped just about half a kilometer away is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house on the main grand road. And there the rath would not move. It just would not move. It stopped for so much time that they started pushing and pushing. And then finally, when Thakur Bhaktivinoda came out along with his wife, Bhagwati Devi, with the little infant son, and because he was highly respected by the Jagannath Puri temple administration, by the priests, by the Vaishnavas, and he was well known also as a well-known judge, he was allowed on the rath. And he went on the rath, and with the assistance, his wife and his little infant son, the fourth son, Bimla Prasad, were also allowed on the rath. And as soon as he was put at the lotus feet, Bimal Prasad was put at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath, a huge garland of Lord Jagannath fell from Lord Jagannath's lotus neck and encircled this infant Bimal Prasad. So that showed that there is so much of a connection here, that Lord Krishna waited until Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is his pure devotee, his associate, and his other associate, Bimla Prasad, came out of the house. And once it is a very, very reciprocatory thing, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sa tathaiva bhajamiyam. The way one, relates with me, the way one worships me, I reciprocate accordingly. So certainly here there was a wonderful Leela where Lord Jagannath reciprocated by wanting to see his pure devotees, both father and son. And once Lord Jagannath was satisfied by seeing them, and of course both the devotees, even the infant little Bimla Prasad was happy, and Mother Bhagavati picked him up later and he was giggling. And when they got off the Rath, at that time the Lord Jagannath's Rath started rolling. So this is an amazing connection. And again, we will put all these dots together as we move along in this katha. In his childhood, he was very sincere and very simple. And he actually, one time, it is said that during the mango season, Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to get lots of crates of mangoes at home. And one day, as it was in the house, it had just come in, Bimal Prasad, the young little boy, hardly about 5 years old, picked up a mango and started eating. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur looked at him and mildly chastised him, not heavily. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very mild personality. Sometimes it was recollected that whenever he used to even chastise his own children, he would say that, you are the property of Krishna, and I am actually a caretaker of you. So please forgive me if I chastise you. That is how humble Bhaktivinoda Thakur was. So he mildly chastised Bimal Prasad, saying that this mango should be first offered to Sri Krishna. We should not partake anything that is not prasad. This is Sri Krishna. It is meant for Krishna's enjoyment first. It is bhoga. And just a little child, but he took those words so sincerely, and he felt so ashamed of himself that he vowed never to touch a mango all his life. Even when he was, in his sannyas, and when he was such a big acharya in the Gaudiya Math, many fruits and exotic fruits for the other sannyasis and for the deities, and as prasadam used to be prepared. And when they brought mangoes, or sometimes the grihasthas used to come take darshan of this great acharya in Kolkata in the Bhag Bazar Math, and they would offer sometimes some Lakshmi, or they would offer some fruits. And when it was mango, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would immediately say, I am an offender. I cannot take mango, so please forgive me. And he would just touch the mango on his head to honor the feelings of the giver. And that way, all his life, he never touched mango again. Can you believe a 5-year-old boy taking a vow? So these are some of the symptoms showing the seriousness of devotional service that were present. When he grew up a little bit more, and then he went to school and everything, and when he went to college, it is said, these are his own words, that if I keep studying with great attention, then I will be under a lot of pressure to enter family life. In other words, I will be coerced to getting married. And if I look stupid, or if like an incompetent person, then no one will influence me towards any kind of material progress, which is also including marriage. And even though he had actually taken up a studentship in Sanskrit college, he gave it up because of this particular reason, that if he excelled in his studies, then eventually, there will be people after him to get married and enter into a material life. So this youth, very young, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, from 1892 to in 1905, all these years he was in Sanskrit college, and then he gave it up. And then in 1895, it is said that he actually joined as a royal tutor. He took up a small job, a very sattvic job as a teacher for the king of Tripura, and where he taught the young little princes, especially mathematics. He was such a wonderful mathematician, and he was a wonderful astrologer. In 1897, he started the Saraswat Chatuspati, and it is an astrological and a mathematical class. And he wrote many books, including the famous book known as Jyotirvid or Jyotirvidya and Brihaspati. And he was amazingly such a scholar. He has such great scholarship in astrology and amazing knowledge in mathematics that the University of Calcutta at that time, the vice chancellor saved a chair, the chair of astronomy for Saraswati. He was then known as Saraswati because he had even written a book called Surya Siddhant. So that was related to astrology. And because of his erudite knowledge, he was known as Saraswati. So that was his term of endearment. And then later on, as he grew up a little bit more, even though in his young youth, in 1898 to 1905, he went into bhajan life. And he was into reclusive bhajan in Navadvip, in Mayapur. And during the Chaturmas, he boiled food only and only cooked by himself, and he only took boiled food. And he slept on the floor without pillows. Very, very austere. And in 1898, he met Srila Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. And he was advised by his father to take initiation from him. Although Bhaktivinoda Thakurji could have given him initiation, but it is out of humility he did not give, and also knowing who his son is in the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna, he actually Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj was a Siksha disciple of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. See, our parampara is also another amazing thing, which is something that we all need to learn. Sometimes we seem to either forget it or we do not pay much attention. Our parampara just doesn't give importance to initiating gurus. And therefore, we have this extra attachment, or sometimes even it takes a tinge of fanaticism towards our guru and our god brothers. No, actually speaking, if we look at our altar, we examine, yes, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada was initiated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura into the Harinam initiation. But later on, he was actually given sannyas by senior god brother Srila Prakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura could have easily been given initiation by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj considered Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a Siksha Guru, because in Navadvip, he used to hear Bhagavatam from the lotus lips of Bhaktivinoda Thakurji. And otherwise, Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj was a very renounced personality. He never mixed with people. Very rarely he mixed with Vaishnavas, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was one of them, which he considered him as his guru. So that is why we have his picture on the altar. After Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, we have the picture of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we also, his guru, we consider as Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. And actually, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was not the initiating spiritual master of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It was Bipin Bihari Goswami. That's another time, or another incident. But maybe I should mention a little bit. One time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to his initiating spiritual master along with Bimal Prasad. Bimal Prasad being very young. And when this initiating spiritual master, this Goswamiji, put his feet, when Bhaktivinoda bowed down on his head, his initiating spiritual master, and then when he just waited for Bhaktivinoda Thakurji to leave, and once he left the room, Bimal Prasad took the opportunity to speak to the initiating guru of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, stating that, do you know who my Baba is, who my father is? If I tell you, you will faint. How dare you put your feet on his head? And of course, there was a major discrepancy in the Rup Raghunath line that this Goswami was not following. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakurji had actually given him up. And he considered Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj as his guru. And that is why we have his picture on the altar. So this is very important. If we even examine the bhajans of Narottam Das Thakur, another quick reminder that I can remind myself and all is the famous bhajan Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More, Tuma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare, Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Utar, Mo Sama Patita Prabhu Na Paibea. In the end, Narottam Das Thakur says, Ramachandra Sangh Mange Narottam Das, Daya Karo Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas, Ramachandra Sangamange, Narottam Das. So he is asking for mercy from his Siksha god brother, who is Srinivas Acharya. Srinivas Acharya, Shamanand Pandit, and Narottam Das Thakur were initiated by different gurus. Narottam Das Thakur was initiated by Loknath Goswami. Srinivas Acharya was initiated by Gadadhar Pandit. And Shamanand Pandit was initiated by Hriday Chaitanya. All different initiatives, but somehow or the other, by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, they got special instruction or Siksha from Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan, all three of them. So they became Siksha disciples. Although Jiva Goswami was not their initiating spirit. So much bond that we can see through the expression in the bhajan. Daya karo Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas. You have also gone. I don't find your association. He is actually lamenting for his Siksha god brother Srinivas Acharya. And not only that, he goes beyond by saying Ramachandra Sangamange Narottam Das. This Ramachandra is Ramachandra Kaviraj or Ramachandra Thakur, who was a disciple of the disciple of Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur's disciple, one of the disciples was Ganganarayan Chakravarti, and Ganganarayan Chakravarti's disciple was Ramachandra Kaviraj. He was so attached to his god nephew because of his seva, because of his bhakti, that when Ramachandra Kaviraj disappeared, the god nephew, he mentions that in this bhajan, Ramachandra Sangamange Narottam Das. So this is a very, very important lesson for us. Time and again, when I get the opportunity, I tell myself first that no, we are all under the same umbrella. We are the umbrella of Srila Prabhupada. We are under the umbrella of Rupa Raghunath Goswamis. We are under the umbrella of the six Goswamis. We are under the umbrella of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we should not make that distinction. Unfortunately, when we take on a Kanishta attitude, then we have all this groupism and all these isms that we create even within this glorious movement. So because one of the major issues that we have is we do not study Vaishnava bhajans. We do not study the higher literatures. And when we do that, we will see how humble our acharyas were. So anyways, like this, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, took initiation from Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj. He pleaded, because, Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj never had a disciple, not even one, just like Loknath Goswami had no disciples. And Mahaprabhu had to come in his dream that, it is my desire you initiate Narottam Das. So because to please Mahaprabhu, he initiated because he felt he was not qualified. Similarly, Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj did not feel qualified to initiate this great personality, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, or this Bimla Prasad, not known as Bhaktisiddhanta at that time, Bimal Prasad or Saraswati. He was known as Saraswati. And he did not want, and plus knowing that he is the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and knowing his transcendental position in the Nitya Lila of Radha and Krishna, he did not want to, just like Ishwar Puripad did not want to initiate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna in the mood of Radharani. How could he initiate them? But to please the will, that is the beauty of our parampara, that Anya Anukulina Krishna Anushilanam Tad Bhaktir Uttam. Whatever it pleases Krishna, I will certainly do, even though it may look odd, even though it will kind of make a dent in my humility. And Loknath Goswami accepted the will of Mahaprabhu. Okay, fine. Because you want, I will initiate him. Similarly, when he went so many times, Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj refused the initiation. And whenever he came, he would say, and then he would do menial services. He would, just like Madhavendra Puri Pad's menial services were performed by Ishwar Puri, including cleaning his stool and all the hygienic different areas that were there. He used to clean them. All those menial services he did for even Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj, this great, wonderful, scholarly personality, full of bhakti. And finally, when he used to approach him, he says, oh, you know what, come back tomorrow. I will ask Mahaprabhu. He would scratch his head and say, I forgot to ask. And like that, it happened several times. And he says, did you ask Mahaprabhu? And he said, I'm so sorry, I forgot. And then finally, Bimal Prasad said that, Baba, if you do not initiate me, I will give up my life in the Ganga. I feel useless because a Vaishnava like you, is so exalted. And if you cannot accept me, although I'm so fallen, if you do not accept me, then my life is useless. And that is the way he felt. And then that was like the last straw, because Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj was still trying to dodge initiation because of that high humility and the status of both father and son. But finally, Mahaprabhu came in his dreams and says, you must initiate him. So then he initiated Sri Bimla Prasad. And at that time, his name was changed to Varsha Bhanvi Devi Daitaya Das. From Bimal Prasad, it was changed to very beautiful name, Varsha Bhanvi Devi Daitaya Das. And as we learn this, or we speak about the Pranam mantra, we hear about it, I will explain a little bit further once I finish some of the important incidents that I have on my mind about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. So, and then after taking initiation, just like Mahaprabhu got that extra power of bhakti, empowered by the Guru, in 1905, he started chanting every day 300,000 names a day. That is 192 rounds, almost like Haridas Thakur. And he went into reclusive bhajan. Sometimes it used to rain, and the what do you call, the tarpaulin, or sometimes the tin roof that was there, it had leaks in it. And Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada never gave up his chanting. He would just open up an umbrella and sit. During the Chaturmas also, there he never, because he did not want to spend one single extra second when he was brought some prasadam, and that too only some fruits and boiled vegetables. He used to simply ask them to leave that plate with a very limited quantity on the floor, and he would just go down without leaving his hands. Directly the plate would, the fruits or the food, the prasadam would touch his lips, and he would eat like that from the ground, not leaving his mala, constantly doing his japa. And then he started, very, very intense bhajan. So this is some of the great symptoms of great acharyas. That's so similar with Srila Prabhupada. Before coming to the West, he did intense bhajan in Sri Vrindavan Dham, 5 years in the Vamshi Gopal temple, and 5 years in the Radha Damodar temple, at the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami, at the lotus feet of Bhogar Goswami, at the lotus feet of Jiva Goswami, at the lotus feet of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, at the lotus feet of lot of great Vaishnava acharyas, including the Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura is in the Radha Damodar temple. It's an amazing place that Srila Prabhupada found, within those premises, so much Shakti and empowerment. And that is why he was able to, fulfill the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because of the mercy of these powerful Vaishnavas, which Srila Prabhupada also admits. So then, while he was in reclusive bhajan, chanting 3 lakh names every day, 300,000 names, 192 rounds a day, Bhaktivinoda Thakur finally wrote to him. He wrote a letter to him. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Saraswati, and I'm reading this verbatim. This is the original letter from Bhaktivinoda Thakur that was in Bengali, and that was translated. And this is an amazing letter. I read this letter perhaps about 2 decades ago, and I was so much in awe that, wow, what a relationship between father and son. What a transcendental relationship between a guru and a disciple, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is undoubtedly his Siksha disciple, a Siksha guru, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is the Siksha disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur ji. So he said, Saraswati, people of this world who are proud of their aristocratic birth cannot attain real aristocracy. Amazing. Cannot attain real aristocracy. What is real aristocracy? Real aristocracy is when we get the service of the divine couple in Golok Vrindavan. Just like Satyavrat Muni prays, Namami Ishwaram Satchitananda Rupam Lasata Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. There are so many Satchitananda Rupas, Vishnus, Narayanas, Narsingadev, Vamandev, and Hayagriva, and so many different avatars of the Lord. They are all Satchitananda Rupa, but specifically, the one who splendorously resides in Gokul. And that is the reason why the Damodar Ashtakam is favorable to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because it propagates pure devotional service on the lines of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So he says, Saraswati, people of this world who are so proud of their aristocracy, about their money, etc., they can never really attain true aristocracy. Therefore, they attack the pure Vaishnavas, saying they have taken birth in low-class families because of their sins. And at that time, when Thakur Bhaktivinoda came, It was a very difficult situation. Most of the Vaishnavism was practiced indoors. These were mostly Shaktas, worshippers of Durga, the Shakti, but not the worshippers of Shaktiman Sri Krishna. So then they said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, therefore they attacked these Vaishnavas, and they have taken by making statements like they've taken in the birth of low-class families because of their sins and because they have committed offenses. The solution to this problem, he says, Saraswati, is to establish the order of Devi Varnashram Dharma. Amazing. Krishna also speaks about the Varnashram, Chaturvanyam Maya system, Gunakarma Vibhagasha in the Bhagavad Gita. But here, it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire to establish Devi Varnashram. And in this age of Kali Yuga, and which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire was fulfilled by Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, today, all the Westerners that we see, they have been given, and so many devotees have been given, regardless of what their birth background was, they've been given the Brahminical initiation. They've been given the Brahminical thread, and they are given the mantras, and they are eligible to worship the deities on the altar. Janmana jayate Shudra sanskarat bhavati dvija. Through sanskaras, they become twice born, or they became dvija. And Srila Prabhupada took that instruction of Devi Varnashram to heart, which it was so dear to Bhaktivinoda Thakurji and to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. Otherwise, even today, many people criticize our glorious movement Iskcon when they see the Westerners on the altar, doing seva of the deities and the Brahminical thread through the yajna and the process of mantras. That the Jati Brahmins or the Smartha Brahmins, they criticize and they're envious. And they say, this is not right what Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has done, etc. Just a few years ago, to make a long story short, in the Toronto area, we had one Goswami visit from one of the prominent temples of Vrindavan, one of the 7 prominent temples. And he visited one of the devotees' houses, and he was staying there, and he was speaking Harikatha, and it was all well and good until at the lunch table when we were taking prasadam. I had a question for him, because he claimed that he was in the line of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, etc. So the question was about he brought this up, that I don't understand why in Iskcon they changed the rules by giving initiation to the Westerners, who are meat eaters, etc., etc. So I said, are you saying that Srila Prabhupada made a mistake? Are you saying that, have you read you may have read a few books, but have you read the life history of our Gaudiya Acharyas like Rupa Goswami? If you claim to be a follower of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, by the way, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was extremely subservient to Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. And if you are in that line, then you would not make such a statement, my dear Goswami, because our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, based on the desire of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he re-established Devi Varnashram. And it is because of this Devi Varnashram, Srila Prabhupada, who followed the instructions of his Guru perfectly, he was able to initiate all of those based on qualifications. Janmana jayate Shudra sanskarat bhavati dvija. And Krishna says, Chaturvanya Maya system, guna karma vibhagasha. He doesn't say by janma, by birth, by qualities. So if one acquires those qualities, even if one is a dog eater, a swapach, even then one can become a Vaishnava, because if that person has surrendered to a bona fide spiritual master. So I said, no, we don't believe in all that. And they said, and we don't believe in what, I've never heard of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura or Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So I said, that's it, then my conversation ends here. Then he says, you know what, I don't believe in it, but you show me something Goswamis have written about this Varnashram, Devi Varnashram, and such kind of initiations, and then I will consider that. That night, I lost my sleep, and I was praying that somewhere I should get scriptural evidence. And then some or the other, by the mercy of, I would say, Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas and the Gaudiya Parampara, I found some writings in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is none other than composition of Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, that supported Devi Varnashram system as per what Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And when I gave it to him, unfortunately for him, those were in English, transliterated into English. They were not the original Sanskrit words. So this is the excuse he gave me. oh, this is not in Sanskrit, so I cannot accept this. I said, okay, Maharaj, nice meeting you, Haribol. And that was my last attendance of any kind of interaction or katha with him. And that is one of the reasons why sometimes our leaders say one should not hear Hari Katha from outside the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or when they twist the philosophies, etc., for their own personal gain. So, anyways, I think I have explained enough on this part. So, Devi Varna, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur's instruction was the solution to this problem is to establish the order of Devi Varnashram Dharma, something you have started doing, and you should know that is to be the real service to Vaishnavas, because pure devotional conclusions are not being preached. All kinds of superstitions and bad concepts are being called, are labeled under devotion by such pseudo sampradayas as Sahajas and Ativati. There are 9 different apasampradayas that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has identified. They take the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they take the name of Lord Nityananda, and you will find them in Bengal, in West Bengal, quite a bit, but none of them are bona fide unless and until they follow Rup and Raghunath, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So please also crush these anti-devotional concepts. Saraswati, crush these anti-devotional concepts by preaching pure devotional conclusions and by setting an example through personal conduct. Now here is a father speaking. He's saying that although he knows his son is of the topmost character, but he's saying through your personal conduct, practice what you preach. And he says, please serve Mayapur. Real service to Mayapur can be done by acquiring printing presses. See, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire. And Srila Prabhupada also, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada established that. Distributing devotional books and preaching congregational chanting, Nam Sankirtan. Please do not neglect to serve Sri Mayapur or to preach for the sake of your own reclusive bhajan. So this letter reached him when he was chanting 300,000 names a day in reclusion. When he got this letter from his father. Please do not neglect to serve Sri Mayapur. There are so many people who need this pure devotional service conclusions, the Siddhanta. When I'm not present anymore, please take great care of Sri Mayapur Dham, which is so dear to you. People, he says, and these are very harsh words. This is a very confidential letter actually. People who are like animals can never attain devotion. Therefore, never take their suggestions, but do not let them know directly or indirectly. I have a special desire to preach the significance of such books as Srimad Bhagavatam, the Shata Sandarbhas, and the Vedanta Darshan. You have to accept that responsibility. Sri Mayapur will prosper if you establish an educational institution there. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did that, and so did Srila Prabhupada. Everything that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has mentioned in his letter, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of Iskcon, has fulfilled the desires of his his Gurudev and Param Gurudev. Never make an effort, and finally he says in that letter, never make an effort to collect knowledge or money for your own enjoyment. What an amazing instruction. There are so many kathakars, that is what Srila Prabhupada always warned. They are professional Bhagavatam speakers, and they are looking for name, fame, and money. And here Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that is the true essence of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is warned in the very first verse after the Mangalacharan of Om Janmadiyasya, Dharma projita kaitavatra parmo nirmat saranam sata, giving up all kinds of cheating religions. And based on Bhagavatam's first verse itself, these speakers don't follow. This is unfortunate. They have not even understood the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam warns, if you want to enter into any kind of cheating religion, please do not touch me. Do not enter into this. This is the warning. Just like when you're entering a dark tunnel, sometimes when you're traveling on a highway, it shows, turn your lights on, tunnel for 2 kilometers, and do not change your lanes. Warning signs. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam has a huge warning in chronological verse number 2, and which is practically known as verse number 1 after the Janmadiyasya verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, like this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that please, never make an effort to collect knowledge or money for your own enjoyment. only to serve the Lord, you will collect these things. And that's what Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada did that too. I remember one incident when one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada came and said, I think they were in Rishikesh or Haridwar somewhere, probably during the Kumbh Mela. And one of the disciples mentioned, Prabhupada, there's one big sadhu, very well known, and there's lots of people coming to see him, and he's very well known for his renunciation, and he doesn't even touch money. And Srila Prabhupada smiled and says, if I get all the money of the world, and he made his hands like wide open like this, and he says, I will take them all and I will use it in Krishna's service. So this is our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. This is what Srila Prabhupadas are. Prabhupadaha, plural. In 1911, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had a wonderful conference between Brahmins and Vaishnavas. And there he first, he actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was representing every year, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur had fallen ill. So this time he said, my dear son, you go, represent me. And when he went, he started eulogizing the Brahmins on basis of the scriptures. And then later on the basis of the scriptures, he established that Vaishnavas are beyond Brahmanas. And at that time, the Orthodox Brahmins became very upset. Those who are very pleased to hear that a few minutes ago, they started pelting and stoning Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. They almost wanted to take his life. And at that time, some of his disciples says, Guru Maharaj, I think we should go. We need you. I know you're not scared. You're the Simha Guru. You're the Lion Guru. He was dubbed as the Simha Guru. Simha means lion and Guru, not scared of anything. But because the disciples were very, very keen and eager to get out of there, one of his disciples pleaded to him, Maharaj, please, Guru Maharaj, give me your saffron robe and you take my white clothes. Otherwise, these people are become very fanatical and anything can happen. And because they pursued it and pleaded, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati exchanged clothes at that time. And then he came out of the little hiding area, and this person in saffron robes appearing to be like Bhaktisiddhanta, because they're all shaved at that time, the brahmacharis, and that time he went in a different direction and the entire crowd followed him. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati then went back. And then they found that they had been cheated. And this personality is none other than His Holiness, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, the sannyas guru of Srila Prabhupada. He's the one, when he was at that time a brahmachari, he took that even if I have to offer my life to save my Guru Maharaj, because my Guru Maharaj is required for the service of mankind. So this is what some of the different leelas that are coming to my mind. Then in 1913, he established the Bhagavad Yantralaya, or the printing press. And then, of course, we know Srila Prabhupada following in his footsteps. We have the Bhakti Vedanta Book Trust, which is so huge. Tens and millions of books are being distributed, especially now the season is there, because this is known as the Brihat Mridanga. Brihat means huge, loud, big, and Mridanga is the Mridanga. Mridanga is used for Kirtan or Sankirtan to assist in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. So when there is a loud Mridang, everybody can hear. A small Mridang or a Mridang that we play at home, only a few people in the house can hear it, or maybe just outside the street. But a Brihat Mridanga is heard all over the world, which is the books, or it is known as the printing press. So that's what Srila Prabhupada says. It was called the Brihat Mridanga, the printing press. And then in 1915, Sajjan Toshani was continued, because Sajjan Toshani was a periodical that was started by Bhaktivinoda Thakur for the benefit of people, just like Srila Prabhupada started Back to Godhead. And Sajjan Toshani, or the harmonist, was something that was started in English by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then it was taken over by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. In 1915, his Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, left for Golok Vrindavan. And then at that time, because he was such a renounced personality in Navadvip, he was very famous. So all the Babajis used to fight for the body. That, oh, no, we will keep the body of Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj. We will like to keep the body of Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj. Why? Because, their intention was material. Because if a samadhi is built in their temple, a lot of people will visit. And when they visit a famous temple with a famous samadhi, then Lakshmi will come, money will come. So when they were all struggling and actually literally trying to fight over Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj's divine body, at that time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura his only disciple said, do not touch this body. Is there any one of you? And actually the police also came. It was like such a big drama. And even the police inspector did not know what to do, because these were all saints at that time, and of different temples or mahants, and they were fighting over this body. So at that time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, not scared of anybody, he simply stood there. He said, if there's anyone here in the last 1 year, in the last 6 months, in the last 3 months, in the last 1 month, in the last 3 days, who did not have any illicit affair with a woman, then you can touch this transcendental body of my Guru Maharaj. If anyone else touches this body, he will be ruined. And everyone present was amazed to see that all the Babajis left one by one. And even the police inspector at that time. Then he asked the question, how would you trust them if anybody would lie? He says, I don't think they could have lied. I would have trusted them if they would have said so, but nobody had that purity to stay there. And therefore they left. And then some of them said, okay, fine. But Babaji Maharaj always used to say that, drag my body in the ground of Navadip so that I can avail of the dust of the Vaishnavas. So, and then they wanted to drag the body of Srila Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj. To then again, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ji immediately said, you don't understand my Guru Maharaj. These were words spoken out of humility. And can you imagine what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said? Amazing. Even Lord Krishna considered himself to be fortunate to carry the body of my Gurudev. And he gave the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carrying the body of Haridas Thakur in Jagannath Puri. We shall follow in the footsteps of Mahaprabhu and carry our Gurudev on the head. And nobody came forward. And then, of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, did the needful, the last, the Samadhi rites of Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj. Then later on in 1918, he took sannyas. Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj came in his dreams, takes sannyas. Again, another very similarity, if you see. Srila Prabhupada's dreams, 3 times Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to his dreams. Now you must leave home, you should take sannyas. And Srila Prabhupada at that time it is mentioned in Prabhupada's Lilamrit that, oh, what a horrible dream. In the sense that I will have to leave my family, I will have to leave this. Naturally, it can happen, playing the role of an ordinary human being at that time. So, but then finally, that decision was made, and one of his senior god brothers, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshwar Maharaj, gave sannyas. And he took sannyas in front of Srila Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj's his picture, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. He took this sannyas on 1918 on Gaur Purnima Day, and and also he founded the Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. Like that, he established 64 Gaudiya Maths all over India, and even a couple outside India in London. Actually, he had sent Bon Maharaj also, but he was not very successful. And he could have actually very well taken the Babaji Vesh or the Paramahansa Vesh, just like his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakurji and Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj. But he decided to take the saffron robes of a sannyasi out of humility, because he never considered himself as exalted as his father and as his guru. And upon sannyas, the day he took sannyas in front of his guru's photo, after getting that spiritual vision, he stopped wearing sandals. And since then, he never wore sandals. Sometimes he used to bleed his feet, but he never wore any sandals. Very, very amazing Vairagya. And then in 1922, Abhay Charan De, the son of Gaur Mohan De, he had actually graduated from the Scottish Churches College, and then he had actually taken to the Gandhi non-cooperation movement. He was in the Gandhi movement because India was still under the British Raj. You're talking about Abhay Charanaravindra Das. You're talking about our Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, popularly known as Abhay Babu. So he had actually, when he gave up his British degrees and everything, Dr. Bose, he was his physician also, father's good friend. He had a lab, so he offered a job to him, and Abhay Babu joined the Bose laboratories in Calcutta. So at one time, one of his good friends, Narendranath Malik, that's his name, he came after work and he says, Abhay, I want to take you to a wonderful sadhu today. he has come in Kolkata near Ulta Danga Road. We should go take his darshan. And Abhay Babu said, no, Baba, no. My father was a very, 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 very innocent Vaishnava. Many persons came in the form of saintly clothes and clothing, and my father used to entertain them by giving them dakshina and food and everything, but I saw that they had bad habits. So I don't have time for this. I would rather go home and take care of my Radha Madan Mohanji. So like this. But then eventually there was a tug of war, and then he was taken to that place. They says, if you don't like it, you can leave in 5 minutes. You can leave. And then when they went there, Narendranath Malik and Abhay Charna Ravind Dey, when he went there, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada looking at him says, the first opening version that Srila Prabhupada remembers is, you are an educated man. Why don't you preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gospel to the Western countries, the Gauravani? So Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Babu said later on that, Swamiji, who's going to listen to the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, etc.? We are right now slaves under the British Raj. Our first dharma or duty is to free our country. And this is, we are talking about 1922. India got independence in 1947. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada looked him straight into the eye and said that, are you really free? Birth, death, old age, and disease is forced upon you. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna states that nobody wants to die, but death is forced upon them. Nobody wants to get sick, but it is forced. Look at what's going on all around us. The whole this year of 2020. What a horrible year it has been, health-wise with the COVID-19. Nobody wants it, but it is forced upon us. So, Janma, Mrityu, even birth is forced upon us based on our karma. And death, of course, is forced upon us. So where's the question of freedom? The freedom that I'm talking about is the freedom for eternal freedom from all these things. And if you, understand that politicians will change, but politics will not. What is the guarantee that today you will free India from the British clutches? Tomorrow India can be annexed. In the future, after 100 years or 200 years, or any other country can be annexed by any other country. And then your freedom again is curtailed. So these things will always go on the material world. I'm talking about the solution of the freedom of the soul. And when Srila Abhay Charan Babu heard that, he went home and he cried and he told his father, today I was defeated in an argument. Generally, people don't, when they're defeated in some kind of a debate or an argument, you feel sad that you're defeated. But here he felt a lot of elation. He was full of joy and says, Father, I found my Guru. So like this, Srila Bhakti, he was initiated later on between the initiation after 1922 and 1928. Srila Prabhupada, our Prabhupada, had moved to Allahabad because of his pharmaceutical business. And at that time, the Gaudiya Math was established there in Allahabad as well. And the Gaudiya Math devotees used to come, the brahmacharis, and especially his senior godbrother, His Holiness Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And a wonderful bond was developed, and he was very grateful that when I was introduced, he was introduced to formally to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura at that time in 1933. And then when he was introduced to Guru Maharaj, he says, I shall initiate this boy. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said, I will initiate this boy. He is very nice. He hears me very patiently. These are the words of Bhaktisiddhanta. He does not go away. So that was my qualification, Srila Prabhupada said. The high standard of philosophy that my Guru Maharaj was speaking at that time, I could not follow. But still, I liked hearing him. Whenever there was a chance, I was asking, when Guru Maharaj will speak, when is the next time he's speaking? There's also another nice Leela. During one of his travels, during business, the train happened to stop in Mathura, and it was at that time, it was the Kartik month, and the Vraj Mandal Parikrama was going on. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was also with the entire Gaudiya Math, leading the Gaudiya, the Vraj Mandal Parikrama. And very unplanned, Abhay Babu or Abhay Charna Ravind Das got down and he went to the camp where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was speaking. It was in the evening time. In the daytime, they used to do parikrama. In the evening, they heard from the Acharya. And a lot of times, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarked that whenever your Guru is speaking, then you don't have to go here and there to take darshan. darshan should be taken by the ears. A lot of these devotees, they go to take darshan. Oh, Guru Maharaj, sorry, I could not attend your lecture because I went to take darshan of this temple and that temple. So Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said that when an Acharya is speaking, you can get darshan through the ears. When he's speaking, when you hear the Hari Katha. And he also remarked that, Prabhupada never went to go here and there. He sat there in his Guru Maharaj's classes. And he also remarked at that time, he likes to hear. He likes to hear. So that was a wonderful quality of Shravana. In 1936, the last year of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, Srila Prabhupada was in Bombay at that time, Abhay Charna Aravind Das. And he made a wonderful offering. And he was a wonderful writer, actually. He was also dubbed Kaviraj by his godbrothers because of his ability to write, prolific writer. So on the Vyas Puja day of his Guru Maharaj, he wrote a wonderful poem in English. I'm sure some of you all may have heard it, but I will quickly read it and you can see how beautiful Srila Prabhupada, this is in English. And even Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to write in English. And of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. They were amazing writers. There's a poetry known as The Parade that was written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If those of some of the senior Vaishnavas who have heard, it was a poetry called The Parade in English. And also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book, The Teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was first published in the University, I think of Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, in the Western country. In the library, it is there, it was published. So this we're talking about a long time ago. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was a Shrutidhar. Whatever he heard, once he could remember. Once he read, he could remember what page and what line. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, about, I would say 15 years ago, we had the opportunity to go to the Gaudiya Mutt Bhag Bazaar in Kolkata, the main headquarters of the Gaudiya Mutt. And they have a room of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it is locked. Only the pujari can go in the morning to do Guru Puja and in the evening to offer the lamp and the paraphernalia. But somehow or the other, some mercy happened. I was very fortunate that day. One of the sannyasis says, come quickly. I will open the doors and if you want to take darshan. So I said, sure, why not? And I went inside the room and I was shocked at all the books that were there. Huge encyclopedic volumes. And I still remember how Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada had labeled them with numbers, just like you find in the old calendars with the huge digits. You cut them and you label them with numbers. And he had stuck them with some adhesive on those books and his personal paraphernalia, like what we see in Vrindavan, in Srila Prabhupada's house, Srila Prabhupada's clothing, etc., his towel, his chandan that he used to rub, the sandalwood, etc., his harmonium, Srila Prabhupada's. So all these, his stick and the famous picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati sitting erect on an open sofa. That sofa was there and his bed where he left his body. And of course his shoes. And I was fortunate that they opened that case and put his shoes. And I was like in ecstasy. I said, I don't know what I've deserved. His walking stick, all his personal paraphernalia. But what I was trying to say is that when I saw all the books that were there and some of his writings, I was just amazed. Bengali and Sanskrit. And he was a scholar known with many languages. He could speak Arabic. He could write Arabic. He could speak Urdu. He could write Urdu. He could speak Persian, meaning Farsi. And of course, Bengali and English. Oh, Krishna, his English is so powerful. All Iskconites know that the Brahma Samhita book that we are reading today is not composed by none other than the English translation than by his Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. When I first read that book, I had to literally pull up a dictionary. Although, we were educated in a good English school, etc. But even today, when I read some of the articles, some of the words, they're amazing. The scholarship, the his divine grace was amazing in all respects. So similarly, we see that in following in his footsteps, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada was wonderful, even in his English composition. Here he writes on his Vyas Puja's day, adore ye all the happy day. Blessed then have was sweeter than May, when he appeared at Puri, the holy place. My Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light up, thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race. The only hope His divine grace. Misled we are all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways to turn our face. Order thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all untraced. The only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a helpful life as Chaitanya's wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute ascension thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity thou hast moved. This gives us life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the maze. Save me, O fallen, your divine grace. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in a new dress. Miracle done, your divine grace. Miracle done, your divine grace. So, when Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada heard this poem sitting in Kolkata, he read this offering, he said, whatever he prints, you must write. He told the other editors of the Satchitananda or the harmonist, and he showed with such great pride to all the visitors and everybody this poem. Especially he was impressed with that one verse. He kept on repeating, absolute ascension thou hast moved. Impersonal calamity thou hast, absolute ascension thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity thou hast moved. So that you have proved that Krishna is a person. That's what Srila Prabhupada again and again, every other sentence, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's a person. He's not some light. He's not some energy that a lot of these Mayavadis and the Brahmavadis and other schools of thought portray. He's not impersonal. He's a person, real person like we are. Even the Christians say man is made in the image of God, right? Because Christianity is a simple form of Vaishnavism, which Thakur Bhaktivinoda or even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura and even Srila Prabhupada commented on. So these things, they were so impressive when absolute is sentient. Sentient means full of consciousness, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana. So absolute is sentient. Thou has proved. You have proved it again and again, again and again. Whenever there were debates, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada with scriptural evidence used to cut the knots of all those kind of misconceptions. Rupa Nuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine, the last line of his Pranam mantra. And like that, he said that in absolute ascension, thou has proved impersonal calamity, thou has moved. You have removed this impersonal calamity of Mayavidism, that, I am God, you are God, we are all God, Aham Brahmasmi. At the end of the day, all these things that we are seeing is because we are under the influence of Maya. There is no Krishna, there is no Shiva, there is no table, there is no chair, there is no world. Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya, all these different slokas that they used, misinterpreted of the Shastras, and they presented, and most people love that idea. Oh, I'm God. This guru is good. That he's going to make me God eventually. But that guru is not so popular that says that you are eternally the servant of God. That is why those philosophies fly, the cheap ones, they fly very easily. And that's what Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati loved when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Abhayacharana Ravinda Das wrote this poem. In 1935, he instructed Srila Prabhupada one more year prior to the passing away at the banks of Radhakund, when you get money, print books. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's desire is amazingly fulfilled even now, every day, every second. the books of Srila Prabhupada are being distributed. And the books should really be distributed. That's another point that I would like to drive home. Those distributors should take some responsibility of knowing what is in Srila Prabhupada's books. Because sometimes I've seen, and this is just as a side note, it's very glorious to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, but we should know what's in it, or at least we should know the summum bonum. Because when we go out and when somebody asks us, sometimes we resort to certain, quick methods by saying this is a book on Bhakti Yoga. Well, if somebody asks what's Bhakti Yoga, never heard of it. And then if we are stuck, and if we are just there to impress our leaders or our superiors, just like a corporate way of distributing books, or sometimes we even, I've seen, this is a point that I need to make because it's a very true point. Experience, it's from my own experience. Certain temples or certain people, they get books sponsored, and then they don't distribute them freely. They even charge the person who the books will be distributed. They're collecting twice. So I don't think Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, or pure line of Acharyas would approve that. Actually, this book distribution means it should be distributing pure transcendental knowledge, and not with the attitude that we are going to get some money. No, that was not the idea of Srila Prabhupada's books distribution. And if we do it with that heart, we have to remember, book distributors, when we are actually distributing books with that heart to please Srila Prabhupada genuinely, and it is with that intensity in our heart that this will really do you good. How many of us we really think like that when we are giving a book to somebody? We forget these main principles. But if that is the true, real, deep-hearted feeling that this is really good for you, for your eternal existence, Paramatma is seated within their hearts also. Lest we forget, he's seated within our hearts. And that communication will be so pure that that person will welcome us with open arms and very nicely take the book. Because I've seen sometimes people force books. Here at Niagara Falls, I've seen it many years ago, about 8 or 9 years ago. Somebody was trying to force, and then the person just trying to get rid of the person gave him like $10 or $20. And then the next thing at the first dumpster, that person dumped the book inside that dumpster, in the garbage bin. Because it was like, nagging. We don't do that. That is not our parampara, So this is my personal view, and this is my personal experience. If anybody begs to differ, I ask for forgiveness. But our parampara has got purity. Purity is the force. Srila Prabhupada constantly, we are not those that we are begging for money. No. Lakshmi Devi comes with folded hands for pure Vaishnavas. And our movement is so glorious that indeed Lakshmi Devi has come with folded hands when Srila Prabhupada was present on this planet. Where, you all know, just across the border, Detroit Temple, no money, and Srila Prabhupada made an offer. And how, so many other projects that Srila Prabhupada had full faith in the holy name, full faith in Sri Krishna. And that is what makes it, because then Lakshmi Devi cannot refuse. What is Lakshmi Devi's position? Always, if you see a picture, she's at the lotus feet of Lord Narayana or Vishnu, always massaging the lotus feet. So that is the position of Lakshmi Devi. One should not fear that, we won't get money, we won't get this, we won't get that. No. One time, another very important point, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. One person came, one big businessman, to the Kolkata Bhagbazar Mutt and said, Maharaj, you're preaching so boldly and you're preaching so many, your brahmacharis are going here and there, all over, doing Nagar Kirtan and, going places, etc. What happens if the entire Kolkata will come, and everybody will come to your mutt? Because Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada is saying everybody should come join this Krishna conscious movement, and which even Srila Prabhupada, our Prabhupada, always, that was the whole purpose of the life membership. Because Prabhupada knew that a lot of people, cannot give up, take to Krishna consciousness right away, like most of us, slowly. It's a gradual process. Some people are still doing business, etc. So to purify their money, Srila Prabhupada, had a wonderful project. Become a life member. Life member means what? You should read the rules that Prabhupada wrote with his own hands. Life membership, you come at least every weekends or Sundays, and you take the association of devotees, take the darshan of the deities, take Krishna Prasadam. And some of the people who are traveling a lot, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have temples all over the world. There is no excuse not to be Krishna conscious. That's what I tell myself. Even when I'm traveling sometimes with my wife, We're always looking for a Iskcon temple, even it's the first time in any city or any other place, in this whole world. There is always a place. Even, about 2 years ago, I'd gone to China. I was shocked that there is congregation centers. They were underground. But Prabhupada's movement has even grown in China. So the point being that is what the life membership is. And when they give some money towards that membership, it is to purify their money. So these are some of the things, because I'm speaking about a very pure personality here. And Srila Prabhupada also, following in the footsteps of his Guru Maharaj, our parampara has the full pride of purity. And I tell myself, before I tell any one of you all with folded hands, that I hope that I will always remember these instructions and bring these instructions personally, because there's nothing wrong in making money, but we should be very careful what ashram we are in and what and how it portrays to the whole of the world. And especially when we study these Acharya's books, how can we sleep well if we have done something to the contrary? So then, anyways, I end here in a few seconds. Radhakund, that was the last instruction that A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, he got from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. He said, Agun Jolibe. And after I leave, the Gaudiya Math will catch fire. So that was kind of a symbolic when he said that a Gaudiya Math will catch fire. Because a lot of these Kanishta devotees will be fighting over marble. Who will take which room after the Acharya has left? And it is so true. History has shown that anytime a great Acharya leaves, there is always turmoil, no matter how great the movement is. We have faced some ups and downs in our own movement also, after the disappearance of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada. So he had already predicted that. But he told him in a very, very subtle way, you stay aloof. You don't have to stay in the mart. You don't have to get involved in that. When you get money, print books. And that is the reason why Iskcon, actually Srila Prabhupada had begged some of his senior god brothers that it was Guru Maharaj's desire that, we should go and preach the message to the West. And can you give me sannyas? He had asked. They said, no, you join the mutt and then we will see. You serve the mutt. And at that time, nobody was that supportive, except when he spoke to Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And they said, no, I will give you sannyas. I will give you sannyas. And that's how the sannyas was given to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, just finishing up, I don't think I will be able to enter the Pranam mantra because I see that the curtains are open and perhaps they're waiting for the Arti, unless, I don't know, can I have another 5 minutes so I can just touch on the Pranam mantra? Can Guru Prasad Prabhuji? But if not, that's okay. I will be continuing this topic on Sunday in the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group. So I represent Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group and also Iskcon Niagara Falls. So if it is late, then I think I should stop here by mentioning that in 1936, there was a final order to Prabhupada, and not only that, to his other disciples. He mentioned that he had actually gone in 1936, sometime in October, just during the Kartik month. He had gone to Puri again, to his birthplace. So again, this is because he was feeling great separation, just like the mood of Mahaprabhu in the Viyogini Radha Dham. And he was in a meditative mood of deep devotion in Puri, showing transcendental symptoms of divine ecstasy. And he started giving instructions. He said, it is in this life that we have to serve the Lord so we can get eternal service at the lotus feet of our eternal Lord. We should not waste any time. He expressed his desire to celebrate Annakut at Chatak Parvat. There is a mountain there in Puri, which is known as Chatak Parvat. And that is the representation, as per our Acharyas, of Govardhan. And there he did the Annakutta ceremony, the Govardhan Puja. And then he also mentions in one of his instructions that by the petition of a Vaishnava, very, very nice instructions. I love these. Merciful Krishna is very merciful. He will give the merciful to any sinful soul. If a Vaishnava makes a petition, this we have to remember all the time. And he says, if a god brother falls down from the platform of service to Sri Hari, Guru and Vaishnava, then you should think your own brother has fallen down. So this is something. Nowadays we see that we all have this prajalpa and we all have this habit of making gossip if somebody doesn't do the right thing, and we try to put that person down. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is feel as if it is your own brother who has fallen down, and see the difference. All you please preach about Sri Rupa and Raghunath with great enthusiasm. And the supreme goal of our life is to become specks of dust at the feet of the followers of Rupa and Rupa Goswami. And in December 1936, he said, I have caused a lot of anxiety to many people. Perhaps many people have considered me their enemy because I have compelled to tell the unadulterated truth. I asked them to serve the Lord with all sincerity. I have given much anxiety to many people only because I wanted to inspire them to serve Krishna sincerely without material desire and duplicity. One day they will understand this. And like this, he also mentions one more wonderful, he talks about Radharani. All individual souls are spiritual females in a subordinate position of Sri Radhika, whose service to Sri Krishna, who Radha services to Sri Krishna, they naturally share by the nature as constituents. So like Prabhupada used to use this was the constitutional position of a living entity is service to Sri Krishna. Jiver Swarupoy Krishna Nityadas. The object of endeavor of the souls is to learn to obey Sri Radhika. Only by obeying Sri Radhika can they serve Sri Krishna. So in December 31st, 1936, he requests one of his disciples, His Holiness Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, to sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. It was his time to leave. The first song that we sang today. And those who study that song, I really don't know at the time, but it's an amazing bhajan that shows the position of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. He also asked one Naveen Krishna Vidyalankar Prabhu to sing Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Tu Hu Dayara Shagar Tari Te Prani. And both these songs were sung. And then after that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left his body at 5:20 a.m. in Brahma Muhurat. He left his body for the eternal abode. So this is the wonderful, very, very concisely I've mentioned. And in his Pranam mantra, he says, Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Sri Varsha Bhanvi Devi Daitaya Kripa Abdaya Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhura Ujjvala Premadya Sri Rupanuga Bhakti Shri Gaur Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaya Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Siddhanta Dvantarine. If I go into detail of this Pranam mantra, it will perhaps take me about 3 months every week if we do each line. But one of the insights that this Pranam mantra gives, that he is very, very close to Radharani. How is that? Because it says that Namam Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishta, that Om Vishnu Pad is a very, very, there are external meanings and many, many meanings, but one of the meanings of Om Vishnu Pad is, of course, Sri Krishna, who is the source. And Vishnu, I had mentioned this in my Damodar Ashtakam seminar, that Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasiddha Prabho Deva Dukkha Jalabdi Magnam. So here Satyavrat Muni has already rejected Vaikuntha previously in the 4th verse, but in the 6th verse he's talking about Vishnu. So how is that acceptable to us Gaudiya Vaishnavas? So Sanatana Goswami has given a wonderful meaning of the word Vishnu. Vishnu means Nanda Nandan or Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So Vishnu means, from Sanskrit, if I translate that in English, means all pervading. So he's simultaneously present at Radha Kund, sometimes he's present at Keshi Ghat, sometimes he's present in Brahman Ghat, sometimes he's present at Krishna Kund, sometimes he's present at Mansi Ganga, sometimes he's present in Ter Kadam, sometimes he's present in Varsana, sometimes he's present in different parts of Raj Mandal simultaneously. Therefore, he's known as Vishnu. So here, Namam Vishnu Pada. So therefore, this Vishnu Pada means Nandan Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, Vishnupad also means that he was taken shelter just like the gopis in the Gopi Geet. If you remember this verse in the Pranata Dehinam Papakarshanam Trunacharanugam Sriniketanam Phanifanarpitam Te Padambujam Krunukucheshuna Krundiruchaya. Your lotus feet, Vishnupad, Destroy. Vishnupad means here's Nandanandan. Destroy the past sins of embodied souls who surrender to him. Those feet follow after the cows in the pastures are the eternal abode of the goddess of fortune. Since you put those feet on the hoods of the great serpent, even Kalia, please put them upon our breasts and upon our heads to tear away the lust in our hearts. The gopis are praying like this. And therefore, there's a wonderful deeper meaning of this word Vishnupad. So here it means that he is a very, very dear servant of Nandanandan under the guidance of Srimati Radharani, and who is very dear to Sri Krishna. And he is Sri Varsha Bhanvi Devi Daitaya Kripa Abdaye. His name is initiated name that was given Sri Varsha Bhanvi Devi. Sri Varsha Bhanvi Devi is Radharani. And Daitaya means one who is very dear to Radha. And Das means one who is a servant of a dear servant of Radharani. And here there is an indication of Rupa Goswami. Sri Varsha Bhanvi Devi Daitaya Das Kripa Abdaye. Kripa means mercy and Abda means he's an ocean of mercy. Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Nama. He gives us this science of Krishna consciousness, and who is profusely giving. Daine Prabhave Nama. Daine means giving freely in donation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto that personality. Madhur Ujjvala Premadhya Sri Rupanunga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute. And he is giving us the inner meanings of Madhur Ujjvala Prem. That is the highest amongst all the relationships, even within Madhurya Rasa. Jaya Jaya Ujjvala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sar. Like Govindas is praying in Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. So Madhura Ujjvala Rasa, within the Madhurya Ujjvala Rasa, that of the Gopis and Radharani, Premadhya, he gives that kind of prema. And Rupa Anuga Bhakti, the one who follows in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, giving bhakti in that line. Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute. And to that, empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Shakti, he is the embodiment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shakti. I offer my obeisances to him. And then finally he says, Namaste Gauravani. Now I offer my obeisances to that Vani, which he speaks exactly as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Vani was exactly spoken by Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Rupa Goswami, having understood the inner core of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart, has established all the principles of bhakti. He is the same dear servant of Rupa Goswami. Therefore, he's singing Sri Rupa Go Manjari Pada, Shai Mora Sampada. Please read that bhajan, every word. He doesn't even mention Radharani or Krishna in that bhajan. He only aspires to serve Rupa Goswami. For him, it is his bhajan, it is his pujan. Shai Mora Prana Dhana, his life, his treasure, the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. So, Namaste Gauravani. Shri Murtaye Dina Tarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine. Anything that is against the principles of Rupa Goswami's teachings and philosophy, he would cut to pieces. So I apologize, I've gone a little bit over time. And actually, I thought that I was just going to finish up just this verse, but there's too much nectar in it that it is impossible for me to finish it up even in the next 2 hours. So I hope, devotees, you all have a wonderful New Year, and take home these wonderful principles that our acharyas have taught us. And every day, if we meditate on something, even a little bit, our lives will become sublime. And I seek the blessings of each one of you who are present here, so that I can advance in my spiritual life, and that way I can serve the Vaishnavas nicely and please Srila Prabhupada and our Gaudiya acharyas. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Goswami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Sthirobhav Tithi ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Satchitananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, first of all, for kindly agreeing to be present with us on this New Year's Day, and also to give us you have given us a wonderful account of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. You have many of the salient points in his life you have actually brought into this lecture, this presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to give you full opportunity to get into all other details. Hopefully, we'll have you another time to continue with what you started. And really appreciate your deep study in the lives of our acharyas. And thank you so very much. You brought out very important points, and we appreciate that. So we'll see you again another time. Wish you also a wonderful new year. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Prabhus. Thank you, Matajis. Thank you. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Gaur
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dear devotees.
Yeah, so I will be still continuing this topic at 6:30 on Sunday. I believe Adisham Prabhu has the link. He will get the link. And if you all want, you all can join in getting the blessings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada glorification. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I will be speaking. Most of the things may be repeated, but there will be much more time in that program on Sunday. We have the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group. So all are welcome to join. Hare Krishna. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dear devotees, now we will have the Gaur Arti. Please stay on and let's have darshan of Shishi Gaunitai and seek the blessings. Thank you all for joining us.